Now, when I saw this in the secondhand store, I thought, oh my gosh, how cute is that? And I actually didn't even notice the crack until I got it home. But I thought, you know what? I will share with you how I would fix it to be able to use it in my own decor or to resell it. So first I'm going to go ahead, and candles really aren't my kind of thing, those little photos in it. I just love these sugar mold, butter mold types just as is. But for this fix, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Durham water putty, and if you've never used Durham water putty, it is a wood filler, but it is dry, so you just mix up what you need. And yes, I'm going to dye it. I'm going to color it using some of the Ink Waverly paint. And then I also need to add some water. The paint won't be enough to make it the consistency that you need. So you just mix up what you think you need and the color you're looking for into the paste form, the wood filler you need. And then now that I have it the color I want, the consistency I need, that it doesn't go running out, I'm just going to, I'm just going to fill that crack in. So I'm just going to push and push till I can't get any more in, and then I will scrape off the excess. And then when I have the excess, I'll go in very gingerly with a wet wipe and remove the rest. So that way it's not leaving a color on top of the stars. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is Yvonne from A Ginger Chick Rehab. Thank you for hopping on and checking out what we are up to. So today's video, oh my goodness, so when you are a secondhand shopper, a lot of times there are items out there that you can just buy and you can paint and flip for profit, or you can add into your decor. And then sometimes there's just those items that you know, they're sitting on the retail shelf, the secondhand shelf, the thrift store shelves, or they're in a box of extras that we bought from an auction. So in today's video, I'm going to be transforming some of these items into giving them more of an updated look so they are a little bit more resellable. I don't know how many of you all look at items in the secondhand stores and you think, oh, well, look at that. Yeah, I'm not picking that up. I don't want to do that. Sometimes they're just simple fixes, like filling in that crack, or like this cute little cat doorstop. I knew since I had the supplies, I could sand that smooth. I could give him a fresh coat of paint and he would be good to go. So as a reseller, not only am I looking for items just to flip and resell, but I also don't mind putting a little bit of work into it either. Now my next piece was one that was an extra in an auction lot. And it is, I think they're sugar buckets that has actually been spray painted with a cream spray paint that is super glossy, and I just really can't envision it selling. So I'm going to go ahead, and since I already showed this in a haul and nobody said, hey, pop that on eBay, I know that it is safe to make it over. So I'm going to start off with first by seeing how much of the paint I can get sanded off. Then my thought process was, if it looks pretty after I got it sanded down, then I would leave it as is. But if not, we're going to have to do something to it. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this was a reproduction piece, and so when I go in to sand it, the pine was so soft that I was actually starting to take away it with the 80 grit. Like that spray paint just would not come off, so that I did not ruin the wood. I just did what I could, and then I am gonna stop. So now I'm gonna use some Waverly antiquing wax and see what it looks like. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go back and forth with the Waverly antiquing wax and the Jolie's black wax and keep adding the two together until I think it has more of an aged wood been used over time look is what I'm going for. Because as you see, the wax isn't really soaking in where that spray paint is at all. It's just kind of sticking out there, so you kind of have to wait for your waxes to dry and kind of layer them up on top of each other. I purposely didn't start working on the lid so I could have a guide of what and how it was turning out. And yep, I'm going to keep adding a couple more layers until I get it so that I love it. I have this auction extra too. Now this is a cute little wood bucket. It's missing its top wire, which makes all the wood slats loose, but then it's also heavily spray painted with a glossy green, which isn't terrible, but it just looks like it's been spray painted. So same thing, I'm going to take some 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to see what of the spray paint I can get off. And as I'm sanding it, the texture of it is really rough and uneven, and so now I can see the underneath color, which was a lighter green. So it has actually been painted quite a few times, and if you could have a close-up vision of the inside, you would see how many times either it was painted really bad or it was painted where it wasn't cleaned first. I can't say I really got much of that spray paint off. If anything, I did actually make it smooth. It's not all bumpy and rough. So the closest wire I have to replacing this is the wire that I use for hanging things. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of this off. It's a 17 gauge wire, and I should be able to wrap it around the bucket, do a nice little loop, and get it nice and taut and tight. That way that the bucket won't be loose anymore. It's not going to completely match the thickness of the bottom one, but it's going to be close enough, and it's going to keep and do what it needs to do by keeping those together. So now I'm going to give it a fresh coat of paint, not the green, nope, not going to be painting it green. I'm going to go with this Bear color that color matched to the coffee bean color by Dixie Belle. Just give it more of a, I'm a bucket, I kind of look like woods. I'm not going to try to make it wood grain by any means. I'm just going to give it that classic brown look. Then instead of leaving the wire painted color, I'm going to go ahead and use some sandpaper and go ahead and bring it back down to that metal. And since it was so hard not to actually touch the wood to get it back down to the metal, I'm going to sand the bucket just a little bit. I know some of that green is going to show, but it is what it is. Then after I got it just lightly sanded, to cover that up and maybe give a couple tone on tone, a little bit more wood-like, I'm going to add some Waverly wax on top of it. So here's another quick little flip. Now, when I first saw this in the auction haul, I thought, oh, it's a plastic spoon. But actually, when I picked it up, I'm like, oh, it's wood. So the paint job just makes it look like it's plastic. So my fix here is just to go very gingerly. It has a hand carved effect around the top, so I should be able to bring that detail, just taking the Orbital sander just ever so slightly and letting it hit it to show some of that wood. Now that wood just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. You could just see how white it looks against that black. So I'm going to use a little bit of Waverly Antiquing Wax, and that's just going to tie it all together and make it look more like a hand-carved wood piece. Now this horse toy, I actually bid on at an auction. In a part of an auction where you're in a barn, I had to use a flashlight to see it. So I did not realize the paint job, that fakey sponge that it had going on. So I know that it would probably just sit in my retail booth. Nobody asked about it either. So I know that I can make this over and maybe make it look like it's a lot more aged just with actually sanding it down first. So getting that fakey sponged dabbed paint job off. I don't want to take it all the way down by any means. I want to leave the saddle, I want to leave the reins, I still want it to have that underlying color. I just want to make it look like it has worn off with time. So I'm liking the way that it is sanded so far, but I do want to add a little bit of wax. So I actually have a rag that I used previously with some antiquing wax, but I'm not adding more antiquing wax to it. I'm actually adding a natural clear wax to it, and what that's going to do is going to give it that a little bit more of an aged look, along with it's going to pop where I got down to the wood, and then it's also going to make that feeling, you know, where things have been touched a lot and it's just really going to have that soft feeling. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? Yes, sometimes salvaging items, secondhand finds, is not only about painting them up, making them over. Sometimes it's about fixing them also, and sometimes the fixes are character. You just add character to them. So give me a quick comment down below which item was your favorite that I fixed or made over, and if I have inspired you in any way to look at secondhand finds in a new way. So thank you so much if you're part of our YouTube family, and if you are new and you're checking out this channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!